Good morning, dear students. So we'll take up with your transient stability studies. So as discussed in your previous class, you first need to understand by what is meant by stability of the system. So far what all we analyzed was we had seen what is meant by various network matrices. Okay, so you basically started with the graph theory, then we ended up with the covering of Z bus and Y bus. Okay, then we happen to focus on what is meant by load flow analysis. Okay, so in all these chapters, it was assumed that still there is no fault. Whatever analysis you have done, it will be for a stable system. Yes, in load flow analysis, basically it was the calculation of your real power, reactive power, voltage profile, that is your magnitude, and the angle delta. Fine. Then once you are aware of analyzing the load pattern, the next point was how do I distribute the load amongst the various units in a plant. Okay, so we happen to deal with economic load dispatch. So in economic load dispatch, we covered up with the distribution of load within units in a plant. In the first case, neglecting transmission losses. Then we happen to study about the transmission loss expressed as a function of plant generation, and we happen to derive one more criterion as to how to distribute the load between the plants when transmission losses are considered. So you were aware of what are B coefficients, okay, then what is meant by penalty factor, okay, then optimal load flow for a hydrothermal plant. Okay, so this all was discussed in the previous classes. So now in transient stability, so how soon the system can regain its normalcy after being subjected to a fault. Okay, so here now when I talk of power system stability, okay, we need to understand the broad classification as well. So we have the power system stability categorized as rotor angle stability is there. Okay, then we have frequency stability, then we are also having voltage stability. So major part of it was covered in your transient stability studies in power system analysis. Okay, so in that we happen to study what all, if you remember, we have studied the power angle equation, okay, for salient pole and non-salient pole machine. So it is basically to plot the power versus the rotor angle delta, okay, how it varies. So we have defined how do we write the power, EV upon XS sin delta. Okay, so we plot the P versus delta there. Then we also saw swing equation. Okay, so we derived the swing equation there, and most importantly equal area criterion was being developed. Okay, so we had seen a plot wherein what happens, how the delta goes on increasing for a unstable system, whereas if the system is stable, delta increases to one particular max value and later on it will go on decreasing. So that pattern of the curve defines the stability of the system. So equal area criterion plays a major role here to understand the various numerical methods that we are going to discuss today. Okay, and in equal area criterion you also saw different types of cases. Okay, so sudden opening of one of the lines, okay, then sudden input rise for the three phase lines, and so various such other cases we have studied. Okay, so when I talk of rotor angle stability, okay, so when I talk of rotor angle stability, I have again two types. So it will be either a small signal angle stability or it will be a transient stability. So transient stability is for a larger duration. Okay, that is your rotor angle is huge. And then in voltage stability, we are having large disturbance voltage stability and small disturbance voltage stability. And under frequency stability, you will be having short term and long term. Same goes with voltage stability also, you will be having short term analysis and long term analysis. So I will brief out as to what all is included in the notes which has been given to you. So in the rotor angle stability, it refers to the ability of the machines of an interconnected power system to remain in synchronism after being subjected to a disturbance. So instability results in some generators accelerating or decelerating and losing synchronism with other generators. Then rotor angle stability depends on the ability of each synchronous machine to maintain equilibrium between electromagnetic torque and mechanical torque. Okay, that is what we did in the power angle equation there. Okay, so I will just brief out, just look on the PPT. Okay, so we have defined this rotor angle stability. In that I told you two varieties are the small angle and large angle. Okay, so your study is based on the large angle stability or large rotor angle stability or transient stability. Okay, so it refers to the ability of the system to maintain synchronism under large disturbance. So such as short circuit, line outages, etc. So the system response involves large excursions of the generator rotor angles. Then it depends on both the initial operating point and the disturbance parameters like location, type, magnitude, etc. Okay. So usually the time frame considered is 3 to 5 seconds after disturbance. Okay. So for this earlier we used the name dynamic stability. Then I have given mechanics of rotary motion is there. So here this is for your understanding I am given. This is just a refreshing what we have done in the previous PSA classes. Okay, so the torque equation is been given. Okay, so we have defined the torque here, T d omega by d delta t. Then swing equation. See, mainly this one you have to know here. Okay, so it is the solution of the swing equation what we are going to analyze. So how that, see, for us what mainly we want the delta to settle to 0. The change in the rotor angle after the fault occurs should be 0. Okay, it should come back to 0. So your main judging equation is now m d square delta m by dt square is equal to Pm minus Pa. Okay, Pmax minus P acceleration. So Pm is the shaft power input minus the rotational losses. Then Pa is the acceleration power. Okay, so we defined also H. Okay, so Gh is equal to half m into omega. So I have given the constants of synchronous machines here. So H is the inertia constant. This is all basic revision, so this is not included in the syllabus. So just for your revision purpose, I have added it here. Some examples are also included. Then power angle equation, so again just for your revision it is included. So power angle, as I told you, it is P versus delta. So for salient pole and non-salient pole, it's been included here. So just go through that. Okay, then comes your main transient stability. So it is the ability of the system to remain stable under large disturbances. Okay, so I will read the conditions also. So the assumptions in transient stability are the transmission line and synchronous machine resistances are neglected. Okay, so it is basically your inductive reactance what we are going to consider. Then since resistance introduces a damping term in the swing equation, this gives, okay, it doesn't give the desired result. Then effect of damper windings is neglected. Variations in rotor speed are neglected. Mechanical input to the generator is assumed to be constant. Okay, so input is assumed constant. The governor control loop is neglected. Generator is modeled as a constant voltage source behind transient reactance, and the loads are modeled as constant admittances and absorbed into the bus admittance matrix. Okay, so typical graph is there. Okay, so now I will just deal with the different methods. So I will write the swing equation for you all. Just switch this off for the time being. So now so what was the swing equation that we derived? I'll write the final equation. So this was md square delta m by dt square is equal to pm minus pa, okay, and this is watt, okay. So m is the angular momentum, also called the inertia constant. Pm is the shaft power, then pa is the acceleration power. Okay, so then we also happen to write about your delta. Okay, so d delta by dt is equal to omega minus omega s. Okay, so actual speed minus synchronous speed. So I am just writing whatever is required now for your analysis. Okay, then power angle is not required. Okay, then I will summarize what was the equal area criterion. So in equal area criterion, okay, so see, if I happen to plot your variation of time with respect to the change in angle, okay, so suppose here the fault has occurred, okay, so actually it is assumed to be constant, okay. This is your delta naught at time t naught, and okay, so this is the plot of your delta, this is the plot of t, okay. So what happens now, if the system is unstable, it will go on increasing, okay. So this is the unstable system, whereas for your stable system, what happens, it increases to some value and later on it decreases, okay. So we had drawn a current envelope, if you remember, in the second unit of PSA, where you happen to study the three-phase faults. So we studied about the subtransient reactance, transient reactance, okay, and steady state reactance. So with respect to your current versus time, okay, so in the subtransient period around 2 to 3 cycles, and in transient period around 20 cycles, and finally there is a steady state period. Okay, so how the settling was obtained. Okay, so just refer to your PSA notes which was given in the last semester. Okay, so in equal area criterion, what is the main thing? See, for stability, your d delta by dt should be 0. Okay, so we arrive at the condition. So using your equal area criterion, we had seen that d delta by dt will be 2 by m. Okay, okay, so where it varies from delta naught to final delta. Okay, pa into d delta. So you can take the step size here. So for stability, your d delta by dt was 0. Okay. So sometime after the fault clear, so that means your delta naught till delta will be pa into d delta, that is should be 0. Okay. So this was your equal area criterion. Then we had various cases where the case was like sudden change in mechanical input. Okay, then we had one more case, three-phase fault at sending end bus. Okay, and then three-phase fault away from the sending end bus. Okay, so you develop the area 1, area 2, so that all is as of now not required. Okay, now what are the various numerical solution of swing equation? So I need to obtain a numerical solution of the equation described there. So I have first one, point by point method. Okay, see, all these methods are using the concept of discretization. So we'll see one method in detail. So I'm having the point by point method, then I'm having modified Euler's method, then I'm having Runge-Kutta method. So this was actually discussed in yesterday's class, okay, but there was some problem with the audio, so I am narrating it again. And then you are having Milne's predictor corrector method. Okay, so these three are purely numerical analysis based on your x and y variables what you are going to use, whereas your point by point method is based on the assumptions of your initial power input to the next stage, initial acceleration versus next or previous stage, and then the angle versus your previous stage. Okay. So all are using the discretization of the variables. Okay. Then we'll start with the first one. See this method, one more thing, this one it is also known as step by step method. Okay. Point by point or step by step method. So I will start with the string equation only. So you can consider the string equation. M d square delta by dt square is equal to Pm minus, okay, P acceleration will be P max sine delta, okay, or that will be Pm minus P max sine delta is Pa, okay, or d square delta by dt square will be Pa upon m. This is the string equation. Okay. So now for this, I will just draw the graph. So what all we are going to plot is your acceleration versus time, then your power versus time, and finally your angle versus time. Okay, so if I happen to analyze it like this, T by, that is in steps. Okay, so this is n minus 2, n minus 1, and here is say n. Okay, three stages. Okay, so it is current stage, previous, and the stable state. Okay, so I draw that. Here in three cases, first case I will take the speed or acceleration, sorry, alpha. So you can call it as alpha n. Okay, then alpha n minus 1. You can take here alpha n minus 2. Okay, so this is nothing but we have plotted alpha, and this is nothing but t versus dt. Okay, so here see if we happen to plot this, we are getting it in this fashion. Okay, so now what assumption is done is, I'll just explain to you what assumptions are done. This is your P versus alpha. Okay. Even your PA also will be the same. So if I happen to draw PA of n minus 2, then PA of n minus 1, and finally PA. Okay, same nature of the graph you are getting. I will draw with respect to, shall write here, same graph. Now we will take the speed. This is n minus 2, n minus 1. Okay, so total 3 stages we are considering, and this is n. So I'll tell you how only these 2 stages have come. This is speed at n minus 3 by 2, and this is the speed at n minus 1 by 2. Okay, so here is this is t by delta t. So hope you are able to see it clearly. Else you can refer the notes what I have given you. So here it varies in this fashion. Yeah, so this is speed, and finally this is with respect to the angle. Same lines I will continue here. Delta n minus 2, delta n minus 1, and this is the delta n. Okay. It will intersect here, here, and here. Okay. So you can show, it goes like this. So this difference I call it as del delta of n minus 1, and this will be del delta n. Okay, so you can call the figure as discretization of parameter for point by point method. Okay, so 4 factors we have taken, or 4 parameters are being considered. Okay, now I will explain that. So the solution of delta t, okay, at a particular time t has to be obtained, okay, in discrete intervals of time. Okay, so what I have taken n minus 2, n minus 1, and n. So with a uniform interval of delta t. So the discretization is done as follows. So first assumption is, so acceleration is calculated in the beginning. So acceleration is acceleration which is calculated in the beginning is assumed to be constant. Okay? Which is calculated in the beginning is assumed to remain constant. Okay? So it is assumed to remain constant from the middle of the preceding interval to the middle of the interval being considered. Okay, so this means what now? So suppose now you are n minus 1 here. Okay, if this is considered to be the present interval. Okay, so what it says is this acceleration will remain constant from, see what is the previous interval, this was the previous interval, and what is the middle point of that? See, so this is the middle point. Okay, this is the interval under consideration. What is the middle point of this? This is the middle point. So during this time your acceleration is presumed to remain constant. Okay, this also applies for the power as well. Clear? So I will write that also. It's considered to be constant. So it also implies, so I am just writing here, it also implies that PA also will remain constant as described above. Okay, so this is the first assumption. Then the speed deviation omega. Okay, so there omega d delta by dt is assumed constant over the entire interval computed at the middle of the interval. So omega is the speed above the synchronous speed. So now from the figure, the numbers on t by delta axis refer to the end of the interval. So now consider one nth interval. The beginning at t is equal to n minus 1. So nth interval is this one. Clear? So at the beginning of n minus 1th interval, so t is equal to, we'll take up here. So what we'll do, t will be nothing but n minus 1 into delta t. That is t by delta t is n minus 1th interval. Okay, so that interval we are going to consider. So the angular position delta n minus 1, angular position is delta n minus 1, and your acceleration will be alpha of n minus. I am concerned with these values. Okay, so now they are calculated, this acceleration is assumed to remain constant where it is assumed to remain constant from t is equal to, so n minus 1th interval, so what is half of this? Okay, so half from here, this one, so half of this is n minus 3 by 2, okay, so this is 2, this is 1, this is 1.5. Clear? This is n minus 2, this is n minus 1. So n minus 3 by 2. This is n minus 1 and this is n. So it is n minus half. Clear? Understanding? 2, 1.5, 1.5 and n. So from where to where it is remaining constant? From n minus 3 by 2 to n minus half. Hope it is clear? Okay, so it will remain alpha n minus 1 will remain constant from t is equal to n minus 3 by 2 delta t, okay, to n minus 1 by 2 delta t. Okay, so please try to understand that. So this point is n minus 3 by 2, whereas this point is n minus 1 half. Okay. Okay, so then change in speed during this time. So what is the change in speed now? So I have to refer omega at n minus 3 by 2 and I have to refer omega at n minus half. So I have plotted only two values here. Okay, so the change in speed during this time is, so it is delta omega, okay, at n minus half, okay, delta omega at n minus half, okay, it is delta t into, okay, so acceleration at what? See here, n minus 1, alpha is n minus 1, okay, so acceleration into time I am multiplying, so that will give me, so alpha n minus 1, so alpha is p by m, okay, so you write p of alpha at n minus 1 divided by m, okay, so you can call this as equation 1, then you write where p of alpha at n minus 1 will be, okay, pm minus pmax. Okay, so this is from your equal area criterion, what we have discussed. So delta of n minus 1, okay, at delta of n minus 1. Okay, so the speed at the end of the interval, speed at the end of the interval, okay, so that is the entire thing I have to take. So n minus half plus n minus 3 by 2, so at that instant n minus half, okay, the speed will be n minus 3 by 2 plus what change I have to add at n minus, so this will be the speed at that at the end of the interval, that is at the fault clearing time. So from our assumptions, your speed is going to remain constant throughout the nth interval. So now change in angular position during the nth interval. So you found out t, you found out now speed, okay, I will write with respect to your delta. So del delta n will be delta t into what? Our consideration of speed is at n minus half, end of the interval, clear? Here I am considered, I am looking here, okay, so this will be equal to, so I will substitute that here, okay, it will be n minus 3 by 2, okay, so omega at n minus 3 by 2 plus delta omega at n minus half, okay, so this will be equal to, so open the bracket, so this will be delta t into omega n minus 3 by 2 plus, now for delta omega n half I will substitute this, clear? So I substitute this, so it will come as delta t square into pa of n minus 1 divided by m, clear? So this is the main governing equation, so you can call this as equation 2. Okay, so similarly I will write for other cases. So similarly delta n minus 1, clear? So that was del delta at n, okay, delta n minus 1 will be equal to, so see now delta t into what? Omega at, sorry, delta t into omega at n minus 3 by 2, clear? So I have written it for delta n, okay, so delta n minus 1, so delta n we got it here, delta n minus 1 is just the previous stage, okay, so delta, what is previous stage? Omega at n minus 3 by 2, okay, then you can call this as equation 3, okay, so you can subtracting 3 from 2, okay, we get del delta n minus 1 will be, sorry, subtracting this from this. So I want the expression for del delta n. So del delta n will be equal to delta n minus 1, okay, so I am pushing it on the other side, plus delta t square into p of alpha n minus 1 by m. Okay. So angular position at the end of the nth interval, angular position at the end of nth interval. Okay. So that is after I finish this part. Okay. So after I finish the n minus 1 interval at the end of nth interval. Okay. So this is the interval which is being considered. So it will be delta n is equal to delta of n minus 1 plus what change you have to add. Okay, so very similar to the analysis you can correlate with the Newton-Raphson method, okay, wherein the initial estimate plus the change that we add. So you can, this one you can call it as 4 and this you can call it as 5. Okay. So this process is repeated to obtain P of alpha n, okay, then delta of n minus 1 and delta of n plus 1. Okay. So del delta of n plus 1 and delta of n plus 1. Okay, so it is continued. Okay, you can take any step size and you can continue to obtain such plots. Okay, so we'll take up one example. Or I guess I will just highlight on the methods. Okay, so this will give me total idea where the adjustment is required. So if discontinuity occurs in the middle of an interval, then no adjustment is required and the increment in angle is calculated from the value of PA at the beginning of the interval. Okay, then any switching event causes discontinuity in accelerating power. If it occurs at the beginning of the interval n, then the average PA before and after, okay, the discontinuity must be used. Okay, so you have to take the average power. Okay, that is PA, average of PA n minus 1 and PA n plus 1. So if it is occurring exactly at the center, then no need. It is already averaged out. So one problem to illustrate will take up. Okay, so this is actually, initially we need to solve it first, okay. So this, using your equal area criterion, okay, but I will just give you the summary of this. Double circuit line will take. This is maintained at 1.0. This is 0.4, 0.4. I am mentioning the reactance values. which is 0.2. Okay, note down. A 50 hertz synchronous generator having inertia constant H is equal to 5.2 megajoules per MVA. Okay. Then xt dash is equal to 0.3, this we have written, is connected to an infinite bus through a double circuit line as shown. The reactance of the connecting HT transformer is 0.2, mentioned there, and reactance of each line is 0.4. Eg is maintained at 1.2 pu and V is 1 pu. Okay, that is at the receiving end. And PE, electrical power, okay, electrical shaft power is 0.8 pu. Determine the following using point by point method. Determine the following using point by point method. Okay, considering a three-phase fault occurs at the middle of one of the transmission lines and is cleared by isolating the faulted line. Okay, so it is occurring at the center of the transmission line. Okay, so evaluate the following by point method. So first one, delta T for a sustained fault and the critical clearing time. Delta T when the fault is cleared in 2.5 cycles, and delta T when the fault is cleared in 6.25 cycles. Okay, so they have given three cases, okay, for the fault occurring at the center of one of the transmission lines. So we will take the first case, it's sustained fault, but before that we need to calculate Pmax, we need to calculate critical clearing angle. So briefly we will solve it again. This is a solved problem from your previous class. So see now, you can write before the fault, okay, so before the fault, transfer reactance between generator and infinite bus. Okay, this is considered as infinite bus where voltage is assumed to remain constant. So it will be Xi, okay, is equal to 0.3 plus 0.2 plus these two are in parallel. Okay, so this will be 0.4 by 2. So your X equivalent is 0.7 P. Okay. So what will be Pmax 1 EV upon X we have written there. Okay, so E is 1.2, V is 1.0 and X you have calculated as 0.7. So this comes out to be 1.714 pu. Okay, then what is the initial PE? So initial electrical power input is 0.8 pu which they have given. You can consider this to be as PM. Yeah, so what will be the operating angle then? Initial operating angle delta naught will be sine inverse, okay, of your PE divided by Pmax 1, 0.8 divided by 1.714, and this comes out to be 27.82 degrees. Okay, prerequisite what you have to know. Okay, now we will apply the point by point method. So now this we know. Okay, so delta naught is this. Then P max 1 we have written. P max 2, yes, that also is required. Oh, wait. Okay, so we'll assume that the fault has occurred at one of the at the center of one of the transmission lines. Okay, so how the reactance diagram looks is like this. So EG is 1.2, this is 0.3, 0.2. Okay, so this I split up and I show that the fault has occurred here. So I split it up as 0.2, 0.2 and this is 0.4 and this one is 1.0. So you will have to reduce the circuit. Okay, so you will get the reactance as 1.9 pu. Okay, so this is just after the fault. So from this you will have to get P max 2. Okay, same EV upon X, but now X will be 1.9. So this you will get 1.2 into 1.0 divided by 1.9. This comes out to be 0.63 pu. Okay, this is at the second stage. So P max 2 is this much. Then post fault also you are supposed to calculate. So that will be your P max 3. So now that line outage has to be done. Okay. So when the line outage is done, it will be just 0.3 plus 0.2. So that line is removed. Plus it will be 0.3 plus 0.2 plus 0.4. So with line outage, so what will be your X? That is X2. Now it is X3. Will be 0.3 plus 0.2 plus 0.4. This comes out to be 0.9 pu. So your P max 3, you will get it as 1.333 pu. Okay. So again, this is all prerequisite I need to know. So from that, if you calculate the clearing angle, okay, so using this I calculate the clearing angle. So delta max will be pi minus sine inverse of 0.8 divided by 1.333. This comes out to be 2.498 radians. Okay, you convert it to degrees. So cos of delta CR. Okay, so we have the formula for that. Okay, you please refer and substitute the values. Okay, so this will be 0.8 into 2.498 minus 0.485. So this 485. One second, I'll tell you. Yes, this comes from that delta naught. Okay, 27.82 degrees initial case. So this is 0.485 radians. Clear? So this is 0.485 radians. Okay, so it's case 1. Then case 2, 0.63 into cos 0.485. Okay, plus 1.333 into cos of 2.498 divided by 333, that is Pmax 3 by Pmax 2. So this comes out to be 0.012. So obviously your delta clearing will be 1.59 radians, or this is also equal to 91.13 degrees. Okay. So post fault steady state operating angle will be sine inverse of 0.8 by 133, that is 36.8. Okay, so this much we are having now. Okay, so now we will analyze it using your point by point method. I guess we will take up a short thing, and remaining we can do it in tomorrow's class. Okay, so this is prerequisite, you have to do this much. Okay, so M PU will be H divided by 180 into F, that is equal to 52 divided by 180 into 50. So this comes out to be 5.77 into 10 raised to minus 4 second square per degrees electrical. So you have to assume step size, so you assume it as 0.505 second, 0.05 second. Okay, so now main is I need to obtain delta T square by M into PA, okay, through your point by point method. So what is delta T square? 0.05 square divided by 5.77 into 10 raised to minus 2 is minus 4, 10 raised to minus 4, and I don't know PA. Okay, so this is now 4.32 PA. Yes. So now they have asked for 3 cases. So case 1 will be sustained fault. Okay, so that means it is not cleared. Okay, that fault continues. So PE will be 1.714, that is your Pmax 1 into sine delta. Okay, so this is just before fault. Okay, all the one subscript what I am using, all are before fault. Okay, so this becomes what? Yes, so this is before fault, and what will be during fault? It is 0.63 into sine delta during the fault. Pmax 2 I am using. Okay, so these are the 2 cases. So calculation use the following formula. So how we write? P alpha of n minus 1 will be equal to Pm minus Pmax sine of delta n minus 1. Okay, this is what we are going to use. Okay, and then I will write all the formulae and we will stop. Okay. So that is with respect to power. Then you write it for delta n, del delta n, and final delta n. Okay. So del delta n will be delta of n minus 1 plus delta T square by M into P of alpha n minus 1. And what was the expression for delta n we wrote? It is delta n minus 1 plus del delta n. Clear? So assuming short circuit occurs, okay, short circuit occurs at the very instant. Okay, so occurs at what? T is equal to 0. Okay, so what all I am supposed to calculate? Just before the fault, okay, I have to calculate PA also just before the fault, then just after the fault, okay, then PA also just after the fault, okay, and then I have to calculate average, PA average, okay. So we will do the calculations in the tomorrow's class.